Hello friends, welcome to Sidza.com. Now in this video we will do some of the numericals on the stoichiometry. Here in this equation, carbon reacts with oxygen and forms the carbon dioxide. This is the combustion of a carbon. This is a combustion reaction. And here we have to find what mass of oxygen is required to completely combust the 6 grams of the carbon. So when you look at the balanced chemical equation, it says 1 mole of a carbon reacts with 1 mole of oxygen and forms 1 mole of carbon dioxide. Therefore, the molar ratio here is 1:1:1, right? So that means 1 mole of carbon produces 1 mole of carbon dioxide and 1 mole of carbon uses 1 mole of oxygen also. This is the molar ratio. And what will be the weight ratio for the equation? The weight ratio here is 1 mole of a carbon means how many grams? It is 12 grams because that is the molar mass of the carbon. And 1 mole of oxygen is how many grams? It is 32 grams. So 1 mole of O2 is actually 32 grams. And you get what? 1 mole of a carbon dioxide. And the molar mass of the carbon dioxide is 44 grams, right? So over here what we find that 12 grams of carbon react with the 32 grams of oxygen and they produce the 44 grams of the carbon dioxide. So what I need to find, I have to check here, if I take 6 grams of the carbon, how much of oxygen is required here? How many grams of the oxygen is required to completely react with the 6 grams of the carbon? So from the balanced equation, what we find that 12 grams of carbon react with 32 grams of oxygen. That means for 12 grams of carbon, I need 32 grams of oxygen. So from this equation, from the balanced chemical equation, I can write down that 12 grams of carbon equals 32 grams of oxygen. Means 12 grams of the carbon require 32 grams of oxygen. So therefore, for the 1 gram of a carbon, I can calculate the weight of oxygen required. That is 32 by 12 grams of oxygen. So therefore, for the 6 grams of carbon, I have found the weight of oxygen required for 1 gram. Now for the 6 grams of the carbon, we require how much of oxygen? 32 by 12 times 6 grams of oxygen. And this is how much? It will be 16 grams of oxygen. Let's take another question. Here we have to find, from this balanced chemical equation, we have to find the number of the moles of calcium bicarbonate required to produce 3.5 moles of carbon dioxide. So here is the equation. Calcium bicarbonate reacts with HCl and forms calcium chloride and carbon dioxide and the water. This is the balanced chemical equation. So over here, the molar ratio here is, from this equation, what I find the molar ratio is 1 mole of calcium bicarbonate reacts with the 2 moles of HCl and you get 1 mole of calcium chloride, 2 moles of carbon dioxide and 2 moles of water. So in terms of the moles, right, I can easily see the relationship between the calcium bicarbonate and the carbon dioxide, right, is 1:2, isn't it? So if I relate the two here, this reactant with the product carbon dioxide, from the balanced equation I can say 1 mole of a calcium bicarbonate, right? So from the balanced equation, I can write down here that 2 moles of the carbon dioxide are produced from 1 mole of calcium bicarbonate. Therefore, for 1 mole of carbon dioxide, how much of the calcium bicarbonate will be produced? It is 1/2 calcium bicarbonate, right? and I need to check it for the 3.5 moles of carbon dioxide. Hence, 3.5 moles of carbon dioxide will be equal to 1 by 2 times 3.5 moles of calcium bicarbonate, right? So it means to get 3.5 moles of carbon dioxide, I need 3.5 divided by 2 moles of the calcium bicarbonate, which is 1.75 moles of calcium bicarbonate, right? Okay, so let's take another question here. How many grams of carbon dioxide is produced from the 1 gram of the sucrose from this balanced chemical equation? So by the combustion of sucrose, I get carbon dioxide and the water, and the molar ratio, what I find here is the molar ratio from this balanced equation is that 1 mole of sucrose reacts with the 12 moles of oxygen. It reacts with the 12 moles of oxygen and it produces 12 moles of carbon dioxide and 11 moles of water. I had to find the weight of carbon dioxide here, right? Produced from the 1 gram of sucrose, right? So I had to relate here the sucrose with the carbon dioxide. Now, what I will do, I'll first change this molar ratio into the weight ratio, right? So as usual, what we do, we are converting the molar ratios here into weight ratio. So 1 mole of sucrose means how many grams in terms of weight it will be 12 carbon, 22 hydrogen atoms and 11 oxygen atoms. The total weight, the molar mass of sucrose is 342. That means 342 grams of sucrose react with 12 moles of oxygen. So that means 12 moles of oxygen, the weight is 384 grams of oxygen. 12 moles of oxygen will be 384, it is 12 times 32. So 12 moles, and the molar mass of oxygen is 32, so 32 into 12 is 384. And what you get? You get 12 moles of carbon dioxide, right? So 12 moles of carbon dioxide, the weight will be, it is 528. Why? Because 12 times 44. 44 is the molar mass of carbon dioxide. The weight of 1 mole of carbon dioxide is 44. For 12 moles, it will be 12 times 44. That is 528 grams. And what you get? You get the 11 moles of water. And 11 moles of water, how much is the weight? 18 is the molar mass of water. So times 11, it will be equal to 198. So from the balanced equation, I can write down 342 grams of sucrose produces 528 grams of carbon dioxide. So 1 gram of sucrose will produce how much of carbon dioxide? That will be 528 by 342 grams of carbon dioxide, which is equal to 1.543 grams of carbon dioxide. So from 1 gram of sucrose, you get 1.543 grams of carbon dioxide. And the next part of the question is how many grams of oxygen gas is needed for this, combustion of the 1 gram of sucrose. So how much of the oxygen we require here, right? So now in the second part of this question, And now in the second part of this question, I'll relate the weight of sucrose with the oxygen. From the balanced equation, I can write down the sucrose C12H22O11. 342 grams of sucrose require how much of oxygen? We require O2 about 384 grams. So therefore, for the 1 gram of sucrose, how much of oxygen is needed? That is 384 by 342 grams, right? So that is 1.1228 grams of oxygen, right? So for 1 gram of sucrose, we require 1.228 grams of oxygen, right? Hope you got the concept. Thanks for watching the video. Bye for now.